My name's Carmen Bulber. I'm of Consumer Watchdog. Behind me are patient advocates who have been victims of medical negligence, either themselves or their families. We were here 18 months ago on the steps of the Capitol in March of 2013 calling on the legislature for change. The Los Angeles Times had just broken a really incredible, groundbreaking story that really uncovered the overprescribing epidemic in California. They uncovered 71 doctors who had all had at least 3 patients overdose from prescriptions that those doctors had prescribed them. We were here at the legislature calling for change because that LA Times story uncovered just the tip of what is the shameful story of medical negligence in California. Dangerous doctors, hospitals that harm patients aren't detected, aren't deterred, and they're never held accountable in California because of our ancient medical negligence laws and because laws that let doctors get away literally with murder. So we were here in March of 2013 calling for change. When the legislature still hadn't acted, we came back in May and the legislature kicked us to the curb. We had to hold a press conference down there on the curb over there, calling on the legislature to change or the people would change. There, Bob Pack behind me introduced the Toyne-Pack Patient Safety Act, Proposition 46, that does 3 things. Requires mandatory drug and alcohol testing of doctors to prevent an inebriated doctor from harming you or your loved one. Mandatory use of the state's cures database, so patients who overdose from prescription drugs obtained from their own doctors aren't harmed. And indexing for inflation, a decades-old task that has never kept up with the times, that limits accountability for doctors who harm their patients. That was Prop 46. A year ago, well, more than a year ago, we called on the legislature to change or the voters would take action. The legislature still didn't act because the medical lobby has a stranglehold on Sacramento. So we gathered 850,000 signatures to put Prop 46 on the ballot, and that's now what's before voters. The ability to change the patient safety laws, hold dangerous doctors, inebriated doctors, bad hospitals accountable when they harm our loved ones. The insurance industry and their allies in the medical lobby have put up $58 million to oppose the sensible reforms in Proposition 46, and they're using that money to shamelessly lie to the public about how Proposition 46 will protect them and their loved ones. That's one of the things that we'll be talking about today, the just shameless deception in the television advertising that the No campaign is putting on television when they refuse to answer the basic question, which is, shouldn't patient safety be improved in California? Shouldn't a child's life be worth more than $250,000 doctors? Shouldn't a child's life be worth more than $250,000? Shouldn't we be able to trust that the doctor we go to save our lives isn't drunk or high on the job? Let me introduce Bob Pack, who is the father of Toyne, who this measure was named after, the proponent of Prop 46, to talk about the campaign and about the incredibly deceptive advertising we want to in the medical community and put on the other places.
And I'm the author and lead proponent of Prop 46. As Carmen mentioned, 10 years ago, my 2 children were run over and killed by a woman who was doctor shopping for prescription narcotics. And she had received those narcotics, lots of them, from doctors at one single HMO who willy-nilly prescribed the medication to her because she asked for it, never verifying an injury, never checking her medical file, never sharing a file, and never talking to each other. And so for the past 10 years, I've been working with the legislator on numerous patient safety issues. In particular, I helped the state of California and the DOJ create the electronic cures database to prevent that very type of incident, doctor shopping for narcotics. So it would provide doctors instant access to a patient's history in real time before they prescribe dangerous addictive narcotics. But unfortunately, the California Medical Association, the medical lobby, now President Dr. Richard Thorpe, have fought the use of that database by their own doctors. How can that be? Why wouldn't they want to use a tool that prevents the reckless prescribing? They don't have a good answer, and they won't answer that question truthfully. Instead, they're running shameless ads that are misleading the public. They're talking about the databases and HIPAA compliance. It doesn't have funding. They talk about your patient privacy is at risk. 49 states have these databases. 3 states, New York, Tennessee, and Kentucky, already mandate that doctors are required to check it. And those states are hugely successful. 2 of the states have stopped doctor shopping by 50%, and New York by 75%. And they save those states hundreds of millions of dollars a year in all kinds of prescription drug crime and draining of their own state resources like Medicare. In our case, it would be Medi-Cal. It makes no sense, and it makes no sense for the CMA to mislead the public with these kind of ads. Why can't they be truthful? The requirement for doctors to go through mandatory random drug testing is a patient safety issue. It's just like pilots go through, police, the military doctors. They're all drug tested. Our California Medical Board says there's several thousand doctors currently abusing drugs and alcohol, mostly prescription narcotics, because of their ease of access to them. Yet the medical board has no authority to do anything about it, and the CMA, once again, fights going through that for the good of patients. Identify these doctors that are abusing drugs and alcohol, get them the help they need, and let them come back to the profession. I wish it didn't have to be that way, but if they're not going to do anything about it, then the public has the right to protect their own selves and their safety and their family safety. And the third element is the MICRA law, which is adjusting a really outdated cap on medical negligence. $250,000 is the value today for the life of a child, a stay-at-home mom, or an elderly person who doesn't have a high income value. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's not even American. Florida recently, state court recently abolished their state's MICRA law because they studied the 10 years of its existence and found that it only enriched the insurance companies while harming a victim and their family a second time by not allowing them any justice or access to the court system. And again, our opponents are hiding the truth from the people about this measure. It's the insurance companies that provide that the doctors pay for their premiums for insurance. When a victim is harmed, they should be paid. Just like if you wreck your car or your house burns down, you have the right. If you're hit by a crane that falls on you on a sidewalk, you have the right to court. Not in medical negligence. I'm sorry. Your life is limited to $250,000 or for severe pain and suffering. And that law has been around for 40 years. How can that be? Dr. Thorpe has repeatedly refused to answer the fundamental question, is $250,000 fair for the value of a child's life? And every time he's gone in the public, he will not answer that question. And he won't answer the other fundamental question, which is, if $250,000 was fair for the value of a life in 1975, why isn't $250,000? Why isn't it fair to have that adjusted for inflation at the same value today of $1.2 million? Why? It worked for the insurance industry back then. It worked for doctors. They were happy with $250,000 in 1975. Why wouldn't they be happy with that same value today? And that's the fundamental question they refuse to answer. They will not answer that question. You know why? Because insurance companies have been getting away with not paying victims for 40 years. And they get no accountability from the doctor or hospital. They turn their backs on the harmed family, the surviving family, and they get no accountability. That's not American. Today, we're going to announce the showing of a new commercial we're running that truly exposes both the medical association and the insurance industry of why they're trying to prevent Prop 46. And the truth behind it is doctors don't want to be accountable, and the medical negligence insurance companies have put up $45 million to fight Prop 46. And that money is being used with very misleading ads. The ads that just last Friday, the Los Angeles Times came out with an article that said the ads that are running by the opponents, the CMA of California, against Prop 46 are jaw-droppingly deceitful. Jaw-droppingly deceitful ads. Because they know they're misleading. And what else happened? The San Jose Mercury News and the Bay Area News Group's papers, Oakland Tribune, and the Contra Costa Times agreed and also ran an article saying they're the most deceptive ads they've ever seen. They should be ashamed. They should be the ones fighting for patient safety, and Prop 46 will bring it. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Carmen, who will introduce some very courageous families who have come here to share a little bit of their story of how they have been harmed through medical negligence without any compensation.
Let's ask Dr. Gary Heller to come and tell us his story. Thank you, Dr. Heller.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Heller, and I reside in Oroville, California. In the year 2000, my wife and I were involved in a rear-end auto accident. After the accident, she developed some chronic neck issues. She also had some respiratory conditions. For 9 years, she managed those conditions very well under our family doctor. He retired, and she selected another physician based on the fact that he had a specialty in pulmonology. For 2 years, life went along as normal and everything was fine. Then one day, the physician decided to change one prescription. He put her on 200 milligrams of morphine sulfate a day. That dosage is considered very high. In fact, I've been told it's 5 times higher than what she was taking the prior month that she had done well on for 11 years. And looking on various websites, including the Daily Med, and there were so many I really couldn't count them all, it says, serious, life-threatening, or fatal respiratory depression may occur. And they're not talking about someone who already has a respiratory problem. They're talking in general statements about all of us. Well, a little history on the doctor. Between the year 2011 and 2014, he was arrested 3 times for DUIs. The first DUI was because he was on a controlled substance. The last DUI, he wrecked his car in a rear-ender. The doctor that treated my wife was shuttled off to a diversion program for substance abuse. And the medical board did absolutely nothing to protect his patients. Prop 46 requires random drug and alcohol testing of doctors using a proven federal program. People in all aspects of the labor force of California undergo the same thing at this time. Yet the very people who can prescribe medication that hold life and death in their hands are exempt from any kind of drug testing. If Prop 46 had been in place, it is my opinion my wife's doctor would have been caught before he negligently prescribed the drugs that caused her respiratory failure. And one other note, he also went to work at his clinic one day, and his own clinic staff turned him away because they said they believed him to be intoxicated. Prior to these 3 convictions, he had been under mandated abuse programs for abuse and had relapsed several times. In conclusion, I'd like to say that I believe truly in my heart that if the Prop 46 had been in place, this doctor would have stopped long before, and my life would be totally different at this point. Thank you for your time.
I want you to know that we'll let a few other people come forward, then we'll play the ad, then you'll have a chance to ask questions. Tammy? This is Tammy Smith from Downey, California.
Hi, my name is Tammy Smith. I live in Downey, California, where I'm a special education teacher with the Downey Unified School District. But I'm here today because I'm a grieving mom, one who understands all too well the devastating impacts of medical negligence. And I support Prop 46. This is my son, Alex. He was just 20 years old when he was killed by medical negligence. In an Orange County hospital, Alex was given a lethal combination of medications, and then shockingly, he was left unmonitored without even one blood pressure check for over 7 hours. When my son was finally checked on during morning rounds, he was found dead. He was already rigor mortis. It was a twisted bit of tragic irony because Alex had entered that Orange County hospital to safely detox off of prescription pain medications. He had become dependent of following a serious back injury. A pain management doctor had started prescribing my then 18-year-old son Vicodin, then OxyContin, and ultimately morphine. His doctor continued to prescribe these highly addictive medications month after month with no further plan for treatment. Alex was not a drug-seeking kid. He was just following his doctor's advice, but it ultimately cost him his life. So in my quest to seek justice and accountability, I sought legal counsel, and that's when I learned about MICRA, an outdated and unfair law that limits the value of my son's life at just $250,000. And while there's no amount of money that will ease my pain and suffering, I want accountability for what is truly a senseless and preventable loss. But sadly, because of the MICRA cap, most families like mine are denied access to justice altogether. I find it utterly shameful that in California we have a law that is allowed to discriminate against certain segments of our population, including our children, the disabled, the poor, the elderly, and our stay-at-home parents. How can the $250,000 cap that was fair in 1975 be fair today? The answer is simple. MICRA is not fair, and it's an injustice that must be corrected. And as the mother of a malpractice victim, I am disgusted by our opponent's ads on Prop 46. They say it's all about greedy trial attorneys. I will tell you who the greedy ones are. It's the multi-billion-dollar insurance companies who are quite content with the status quo. Companies like the Doctors Company, with their $1.7 billion in reserves, largely because of MICRA. I am not fighting for money. I am fighting for justice and accountability. And in memory of my beloved son, I am fighting for change so that no others suffer the same devastation. If this tragedy could happen to me and my family, it could happen to anyone. And that's why I'm urging every voter in California to help us protect patients, save lives, and vote yes on Prop 46.
And finally, Michelle Montserrat Ramos from Los Angeles.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Montserrat Ramos. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm here today to talk about my late fiance, Lloyd Montserrat, who died due to medical errors by a doctor with addiction to crack cocaine. Lloyd was a young political leader who accomplished much in his great lifetime. He was the Los Angeles first director for the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee. He was the director of NALEO, a political consultant, and he even organized nurses for SCRU Local 660 at Valley County UNC Medical Center. Yet when Lloyd entered the Los Angeles hospital for elective surgery, he died 3 days following surgery with no cause given for his death. Searching for answers, I hired a pathologist to have a private autopsy done and contacted the county coroner's office. The autopsy determined that Lloyd died due to surgical mistakes, infection, and ultimately advanced peritonitis or sepsis. Still needing answers, we thought, we'll seek legal counsel. Maybe a lawyer can help us get some answers. We met with several lawyers. They reviewed Lloyd's medical records, and they said, he doesn't have a case, but I don't know if you've heard of the MICRA law, but because of the MICRA law, we're sorry, but it would not be a good business decision to take Lloyd's case. Believe me, you won't ever want to hear that your loved one's life and death was a bad business decision. I later discovered that Lloyd's doctor had an arrest record. Yes, it was true. Lloyd's doctor had been arrested 3 times, all while he held a license to practice medicine in the state of California. He was arrested once for felony possession of crack cocaine, and the other arrests were for prostitution. Lloyd had no right to know that his doctor had a drug problem, and because he did not have the right to know, it cost Lloyd his life. Lloyd deserves to live. Proposition 46 is about human lives, humans who contributed to our great state. Lloyd's lives matter. All of our lives matter. Proposition 46 will save lives. It would have saved Lloyd's life. Support Proposition 46 and let's put California's lives first. Thank you.
Thanks for sure. I will just draw your attention to a couple things. One, Bob mentioned this shockingly deceptive ad that the other side is airing that is attempting to claim that Proposition 46 somehow puts every Californian's private medical records at risk of identity theft and hackers. Completely absurd. So absurd that if you said the Los Angeles Times called it jaw-droppingly deceptive, as did the San Jose Mercury News, shockingly deceptive, or shamelessly deceptive. And the LA Times said practically everything it wants voters to believe about the measure is wrong. Top of the list of the things that ad claims, it cites 4.5 million records hacked at a hospital as a way to scare voters into thinking Prop 46 was going to make that happen to them, when in fact those 4.5 million records hacked were hacked at the facilities of an opponent to Proposition 46 that has given hundreds of thousands of dollars to the coalition opposing Prop 46. These ads are shameless. The California Medical Association should denounce them, stop scaring consumers away from using a medical tool, away from a medical tool that could save lives, and take them off the air immediately. As Bob said, the new ad we're about to release today, that'll start airing in the San Francisco area tomorrow, calls out the insurance industry for their deception. Paul, if you could.
Insurance companies are spending millions of dollars trying to mislead you about the effects of Proposition 46. Well, here's the truth. 46 will save lives. It will save money, too. I'm Bob Pack. I'm fighting for Prop 46 because I lost my 2 children to preventable medical errors, and I don't want anyone else to lose theirs. The 3 provisions of 46 will reduce medical error and protect patients. save money and save lives. Yes, on 46.
You want us to roll that one more time? You good? Okay.
The other thing I just wanted to draw your attention to, because we forgot to mention it, but the blocks to your left, on my left, to your right, are documents from the California Medical Board findings against the physician who harmed Dr. Heller's life. It shows the details of the 3 different DUI arrests that doctor got his license pulled for, but doesn't tell the details of the long-going investigation and cycles in and out of the diversion program without any patients knowing that he had an ongoing substance abuse problem. So I want to draw your attention to this fact from the California Medical Board. Our hearing is very close, so if anyone has any questions, that's fine. The Sacramento Bee took issue with the fact that we didn't read every provision of the 7-page measure in our advertisement. I would love to. Unfortunately, we're running a grassroots David campaign with real TV ads, but we only have 30 seconds to do it in. The ad that they were talking about was from Dr. Stephen Lloyd, who is a recovering substance abuser, a practicing doctor, who was taking up to 100 pills a day while practicing medicine for 3 years. We had focused about that. The story took issue with the fact that we didn't get to talk about all the other pieces of the measure too, but some of our other ads do that, as Bob said did today. And I know you wanted to talk to folks afterwards, so you can do that now.
Just see if anyone on the phone has a question. Hi, you're off mute. Does anyone on the phone have a question? Sounds like we're good. Okay, thank you, everyone. And you can call 310-403-0284 for more information. 310-403-0284. We're going to go into the legislative hearing now. Thank you.